prerogative of the politician, nor is it the privilege of the journalist. In our day to day work, journalists are simply exercising every citizen's right to free speech. A free press is fundamental to a democratic society. It also seeks out and circulates news, information, ideas, comments, and opinions, and holds those in authority to account. The press provides the platform for multiplicity of voices to be heard at the national, regional, local level. It is also the public's watchdog, activist, and guardian, as well as educator, entertainer, and contemporary chronicle. All right, the press also provides the platform, of course, I'd stated this for a multiplicity of voices to be heard. And over time, we've had some issues as we progress, as the program builds up. We're going to look at that. But let's get your view on press freedom.
Well, thank you very much. This is a very interesting topic, and it should engage the attention of both the citizenry and those who are in government, because it's very, very important. First, an overview. If you research to, done studies or researches, you will find out that Nigeria is not classified as one of those countries where press freedom is 100%. We are classified as a country as partially free in terms of press freedom. And that is so correct, sadly so. Because I make the point whenever I have the opportunity that the repression of press freedom is the first leg of the journey to dictatorship. Because when you repress the press from operating with all the freedom it desires and it requires to effectively operate, what you're trying to do is that you're trying to suppress the press from getting certain news, certain information to the public that it ordinarily would have left to avail the public. So for me, it is a sad commentary that as at this time in the 21st century, where we have all the libel laws in the country, that when someone is libel, the person could take resort to, where we have various avenues of remedy in the instance that someone is injured by the press, that in spite of all those openings in the constitution, that the press is still being hindered substantially from doing its job, is a sad commentary for me today in Nigeria. And I think for every journalist. Today, our country has been classified as one of those countries where it is actually difficult for the journalist, the courageous journalist, to do his or her bit, without fear of being harassed, and so on and so forth. You see, one would have been consigned if there are no laws, in the Constitution of Nigeria, that provides for people who are injured by one form of circulation of news or the other to seek recourse and get, when necessary. One would not have bothered, but there are such laws. So I think there is no reason why the press should not be allowed to exercise its freedom, at the fullest maximum in a country like Nigeria, because I believe that the little freedom we still enjoy in this country today, the little liberties we enjoy as individuals or as ethnic groups or as a people, is as a result of the much that the press has done. I'll give you an instant example. Prior to the advent of the social media, you could say that a lot of abuses, abound in the country. I'm not saying that it has been eliminated, but I think that the fear of social media, for example, has put the fear of God in some government officials, has put the fear of God in some police or security officials, that today they are no longer as callous as they used to be in the past, because you never could tell who is filming you while you're doing well. And in this era of citizenship journalism, what you thought you did in the hiding could be exploited, on social media. And so it has helped to curb the abuse to a reasonable extent, and will continue to curb it as the days go by. And that is why we are very, very passionate about this freedom that we're talking about. So I think I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay, still on press freedom. On the 4th of May 2021, we got this report as the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar accused the regime of the President Major General Muhammadu Buhari retired of allegedly clamping down on the media and intimidating citizens from expressing their thoughts freely. Well, he made the allegation in a series of tweets which he posted that was in commemoration sometime in May, in commemoration of the World Press Freedom Day. He noted that when the people's voice is repressed in a democracy, it would bring about this connection between the people and government. But recall, I stated it was an allegation, so we would not necessarily dwell on it or try to x-ray that statement word for word, detail for detail. But moving up, we have the Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, as he stated that press freedom and free speech are key to the development of democracy, noting that the state government had actually expunged sedition from the new criminal law of the state. So let's get your view on the press freedom key to democracy development.
Well, like I said earlier, it's you won't be too far from what the foundation that I've laid. Any society that works against press freedom is living in how do I put it? It's a society that will be condemned eternally to fear, and a society where justice cannot reign. And in the absence of justice, there cannot be peace, because the prerequisite for peace is justice. Now, rather than do anything to suppress press freedom, I think that government or those in government have nothing to fear, absolutely, in allowing the press to do its job full blast. Relative to our democratic practice, if not for the level of courage that some of the news establishments in the country, especially after the coming to bring independent radios and independent televisions, we wouldn't be where we are today. I believe that we would have been more of a backward country. I'll give you an example. Look at what is happening in Russia. As far as developed and as stabilized as Russia is today, because of press control in that country and information control, I can tell you, for example, that the ongoing invasion of Ukraine is not supported by a lot of Russians. But they cannot talk for fear of repression.
True.
They cannot talk because they cannot be published. So whatever the political leadership of that country desires becomes the order of the day. Even if there was an opportunity to put that to test, to a popularity test within the citizenry, it will fall flat on its face. That is a good example of what suppression of the press could do to a country. So for me, there can be no democracy really without press freedom.
True.
That is the way I say. So democracy, press freedom is a sine qua non for effective democracy. Where it is lacking, I do not see how democracy can thrive. Where it is lacking, I do not see how justice can rule. Where it is lacking, I do not see how, a reckless leadership, particularly political leadership, can be tackled. So it is so important that it is something not to be joked with. It is so important, and that's why every journalist in this country, what his or her thought, is very passionate about complete press freedom in Nigeria.
Definitely.
And I think we need to do all we can to get that day to come.
Yes, we would, and we will. Well, my guest has been Comrade Chris McCool Nwosu, has been on the other side, and we're looking into press freedom, several angles to it. On the 28th of July, BBC Daily Trust to face consequences for terrorism reporting. That's Lai Mohammed. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said the BBC and Daily Trust will face consequences for glorifying terrorism in their reportage or reporting. We understand that the BBC and Daily Trust had recently published documentaries containing interviews with bandit warlords. Now, according to Mr. Mohammed, such reporting gives legitimacy to terrorism. In his words, he stated, "Let me assure you that they will not get away with this naked glorification of terrorism and banditry in Nigeria," Mohammed actually stated. When otherwise reputable platforms like BBC give their platform to terrorists, showing their faces as if they are Nollywood stars, I want to assure them that they won't get away with it. The appropriate sanctions will be meted. All I can say is that there is a regulatory body, and he went on and on. Responding to that, renowned Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi condemned the position of the federal government regarding media reporting and coverage of the lingering insecurity in the country. He specifically faulted the government's plan to sanction the BBC Africa Eye and Daily Trust for their recent reports. Of course, that did not deter the government, as 5 million naira fine was issued on that reportage. Now, moving up, let's get into something else. NBC's fines and media firms on how that they violate press freedom. Let's get your view.
Well, let me even start from the BBC issue that you talked about.
Yeah.
First and foremost, what Lai Mohammed ought to have asked himself was, if it were to be in Britain or America, would they have done such a report? The answer is absolutely yes. And it will have no consequences. But what the government can do is to be effective enough to tackle whatever comes out of the report and not to try to suppress reporters from reporting what is real. Yes, so that being the case, I do not see why, yes, let's get it straight. I'm one of those who do not believe that the activities of terrorists should be glorified.
Exactly.
But that does not mean that it cannot be reported. For example, if terrorist attacks is a village in the north, as has become very rampant, and sweeps across that village, probably killing a half of the village, you would not say because you don't want to glorify terrorism that then that reportage should be put under the carpet.
Exactly.
If you put it under the carpet, it will mean that nothing is happening in the country. The government will feel relaxed, and they will not put, up their ante in terms of the efforts to combat terrorism.
True.
So it is a very difficult situation. While the government would not want an escalation of the perception out there, it behoves the press to stand up, in the interest of the people, to tell the world the true situation of things. So for me, I do not think it is proper for government to even antagonize, not to talk about imposing fines on media establishments that report on terrorism activities with a measure of circumspection. That's the way I put it. If, for example, 100 persons are killed in a village by terrorists, I believe that it is the duty of the Nigerian media to tell Nigerians that 100 persons were murdered in cold blood in a particular village. What I would not really want to, unless there's a disputation of that news by the government, is for us to have dead bodies or mutilated, bodies, shown even on television or things like that.
Yes.
But for crying out loud, even take Facebook, for example, there are gory pictures that when you post on Facebook, they clearly tell you that it doesn't go against their rule. But in the interest of people who might be upset by that kind of picture, they will cover it.
Yes.
So you now have to elect whether to see the image or not. That should be left to you. But for crying out loud, the fact is that it does not go against the community standard, because the public has the right to receiving information. And even Victoria are part of information, because Victorians request the information.
True.
They are put up in proof of a story. Don't be surprised that tomorrow, if Omega reports something that happened anywhere, God forbid, that is gory, the government might tell you it didn't happen. So unless there is a proof or there's an evidence attached to that,
yes,
you don't, the people don't get to believe, and even government will deny it. So for me, I think that rather than abuse itself, trying to emasculate the press, trying to repress the press, government should do more in tackling banditry across the country, in tackling terrorism across the country, in tackling all manner of insecurity that is rearing its head up in different parts of the country. I think that's what government should do, because once government does that, believe you me, the same press will report it. And I'll give you an example. In Anambra today, it is the same press that was reporting all manner of activities of the UGM that is also now reporting the successes of the government. Not so?
Yes, yes.
So that's the way it should be. Government should not be led by this report. Instead, those reports should be the tonic needed by the government. It should spur the government into, doing more to tackle the situation, because we bring situations to light so that people will know this is the situation, and people will be more careful, and then it will also enable the government of the day to devise ways and manners of tackling the situation. For example, many have said it, and the press is reporting it, that it is inexplicable to think that we have a scenario in the Northwest where certain ordinary individuals go to the bushes, to the forest, negotiate with bandits, come out, and then ransoms are paid.
Yes.
And people are free. And government has an army, navy, air force, police, and what have you. And they still pretend that they do not know how to reach this person. These are the sort of things that actually, infuriate, the public consciousness. And I think that government should act more in the direction of, how do I put it? Government should be more interested in how to bust those kind of syndicates than trying to repress the press from reporting that bandits were paid ransom and they freed people. I think if ransom is paid, for example, it is the prerequisite of the press to now report it.
Exactly.
And that's what is done in so reporting. If people are abducted, it is the prerequisite of the press to report that. How do you even try political leaders for war crimes, for example? Is it not because of evidential photographs of videos that were shown?
Yes.
You don't try such leaders based on mere allegations or based on mere word of mouth. There has to be proofs. And pictures and videos are proofs. So government is not being leaked. By if government is angered at the BBC, for example, showed a documentary it ought not to have shown. What the government should do is to go and smoke out the bandits, go and smoke out the terrorists, and then BBC will have nothing to show.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Quite interesting. Further speaking, the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, called on politicians and public office holders not to gag the media, as press freedom is important in a democracy. Sanwo-Olu noted that his administration will continue to ensure good cooperative governance and self-regulation of the digital space to completely eradicate false and fake news. Taking us further, Professor Akin Feleye actually spoke on the banditry documentary and the Trust TV 5 million naira fine as a hash. And then it brings lots of questions. Can we actually strike a balance between what the press can put out to the public and what shouldn't be out there, using the BBC documentary as a case study?
Well, trying to strike a balance is a difficult scenario. What I can tell you is that no editor what is sold, be it in the print media, be it in the visual media, electronic media, and all that else, will publish something. Editors are people with blood flowing in their brain.
Definitely.
So editors want an egalitarian society, don't they?
Yes.
That is the chief. That is in fact the very reason they do what they do. So I can tell you, except an editor whose heart is, made of the devil itself, that will go out of his way to put up things that will actually excite Nigerians into a rebellion. No, I don't think that's the intent. So striking a balance is neither here nor there. I think what is more important is, are these reportages true? If they are true, what can governments do to, affect the situation? I think that should be the spirit. Because how do you strike a balance? How do you strike? I agree there's a bit of commerciality in the business of news reportage, because you want to be the first to break the news. But if you get it first, what is wrong in breaking the news first? You might be dilly-dallying, and another media will break the news.
Definitely.
And bear the consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the balance that there is to strike is in the conscience of the editors. And editors are not reporters. They are not correspondents. So to rise to the position of even a sub-editor, one must have paid his or her dues in the news industry. So that being the case, he or she is in the best state at every point in time to judge whether, I can tell you that in responsible journalism, whatever is reported in the interest of society. It is not reported, except where you have, for example, a propaganda machinery, maybe where there is an insurgent, and the insurgents have, a media unit that specializes in propaganda. That is only when you have materials put out that are not actually supposed to be out there. And I can tell you that every editor knows such materials when he or she sees one.
Okay.
And I can tell you also that there are a lot of materials that have been sent to editors that have not been published. As a journalist, I get because people feel I'm a courageous journalist, for example, I get a lot of materials to put out to the public. I decide which ones go and which ones do not go. Mm-hmm. And how do I take that decision, which is exactly what you're talking about, striking a
balance, yes.
When I look at it, and I suspect that if I'm called to question after putting out this material, that I cannot substantiate that story, why must I put it out? Why must I want to get myself into trouble? So I trash it. So that is the only balance that can be struck. Balance can only be struck in the minds of those who control or who take decisions as to whether this news will go out or whether it wouldn't go out. And I can tell you that in all responsible media organizations, no journalist, no editor, no news editor would want to, authorize a news item that is likely to put its stable in trouble. So it's something that must be self-regulated. But for the government to try to, suppress the media in the name of whatever, for me, there can be no striking a balance. The balance that there is there to strike is that government must do its bit by ensuring security of lives and properties. I can tell you that if this government has done enough, or if government is doing enough, most of the media, even in reporting incidences, would want to exonerate the government, also, implying that it has done enough. Mm-hmm. That is the way it works. Mm-hmm. For example, everybody in this country that is not in government is miffed that we have gotten to a sharp curve where people are murdered like fowls in particular parts of the country, and what you have is at the most, a meeting of the Security Council, get someone that has a rock. They will tell us they will get to the bottom of this. They will do this, they will do this, they will do this, and that will be all you will hear. The next news you will hear 1 or 2 months after is a repetition of a similar thing. Nobody has been punished. It took like eternity for the government to reject the heads or the headship of the various security agents in this country. Yes. It was a belated move. And thereafter, no result has been achieved. No tangible result, in my own opinion, has been achieved. But for me, effective governance is that there should be consequences for failure.
Yes.
There should be timelines. For example, if I reject the headships of the security agencies in the country for not being able to checkmate the scenario we have or the insecurity we're having in parts of the country, it is not out of place for me to say you have 3 months, you have 6 months, to improve the situation. Whereby if you don't, then you have to go. It doesn't matter if we have to have, change the 10 times before we get it right. The important thing is that we need to put people who are, capable in positions of authority so that they will help us cope this situation. And I can tell you sadly that one of the reasons, one of the problems that Nigeria is suffering from today is that because of nepotism, I said this without with the responsibility. Because of nepotism in the area of appointments, a lot of capable hands were retired in the security agency. And so today you have a scenario where it's difficult, very difficult to find competent hands. That is certainly what we're going through. I have been in discussions where people are saying, if what will be required to arrest this situation is to go and bring out some generals in retirement, that it won't be a bad idea. They are saying that because a lot of people were retired prematurely, just because you want to make certain persons heads of organizations. It doesn't go well. You create a problem, and then when the problem surges and explodes, you now begin to look for what do you call them? Or people who will bear the brunt or the blame. No, you don't do that. So for me, striking a balance is dependent of the government and is dependent on the news media themselves. And like I said, no responsible media head, no responsible head of any organization would actually want to exploit this country. Whatever they do in the interest of society. And the earlier government begins to look at it from that perspective, the better. We should not repress news. We must allow news. We have had instances, for example, where people were abused along the road by traveling. And the only reason their abusers got reprimanded was because someone by the corner probably was recording when it was happening. And then it is uploaded on social media. So for me, the media has a duty to report what is not proper. They also have a duty to report everything that is done properly. It is not just things that are done properly that they must report. No, when there are things that are not done properly, and when there are situations that they think shouldn't be, it is the duty of the media to bring that situation to the public glass.
Of course.
So that it can be looked at.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So for me, the issue of striking a balance is neither here nor there.
Okay. All right. It's still the point of view right here on Omega 101.7 FM and Matt Radio. On the other side, I've had Comrade Chris McCool Mosu sharing vocal duties with me today as we look into press freedom. How far we have really fared in a democratic system. Well, at this point, would go on a quick break, get the audience to participate on their perception. Of course, it's no longer news that sometimes some persons actually in English words have actually stated that the press is God. It comes from, but I often say I'm one of those people that believe in rules, policies, and structures that govern our profession. We wouldn't break the rule to satisfy the typical Nigerian or those of you that will be part of the conversation. So at this point, we'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, over time to open up the phone line. Stay tuned. It's still Omega 101.7 FM. You can follow us on our social media handles, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouSocial, and YouTube at Omega 101.7 FM. I'll be back shortly.
Part of the conversation.
Please tell him this thing is bringing out
017777 and 09071121017. Please make your submissions known in a civilized manner. put up emotional and all ethno-religious sentiments, make verifiable claims on this platform, respect the views of other colors, and 2 minutes is given to every color. Each person is entitled to only one call to enable others to participate. Point of view, airing your views for the transformation of our society.
All right, welcome back. It's 9:34. It's time to get in your comments, reactions, and contributions on Press Freedom. 0815-1017-777. Yes, you can follow us on our social media pages. Hello?
Good morning, my sister.
A very good morning to you.
This is Chiwendu calling from Akokwa.
Go ahead.
You know, when this program started, I was very happy. In fact, I brought my phone and I put it on recording. It's very, very important to program to be handled in.
We can't hear. He needs to hear. Yeah, of course I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, in this country now, you know that from what this program is telling you, our government has failed. Hopefully, in as much as we are in democracy, the government of the day do not do anything to the masses. Now, I want to say, as long as we don't, can we possibly have another government? Because in the issue that is makes things like this take place in Ghana, the only way that it comes to an end is when all the evil politicians will have put to death in one day. That is the only way that this thing will come to an end. And Ghana has become a good city to this time. Now, if we want to make this country better and to maintain democracy that we are, the only way to do it is to eliminate all the...
I beg your pardon. Really, listen. I must say this clearly. You are the reason why most stations are being fined. You that just called right now. What are you talking about? Elimination? Are we trying to subscribe to violence? It's not the contribution. Listen, if you're not sure of what you say, sit back and listen attentively. We're not talking about elimination. That's not the escape route. We must get it right as Nigerians. We're looking into press freedom. No one suggested anything, not my guest, not myself. So when you want to contribute, it's an advice, please take this home. It would help. If you have nothing to say, sit back and listen. Like I stated, you're the reason why most radio stations are being fined. How in heaven's name would you use the radio as a medium to propagate such erroneous, and it's terrible to me right now. I can't find the right words, please. 0815-1017-777. Okay. Hello? A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
A very good morning to you.
Yes, I know that you had me, but I didn't have you. My name is Okochukwu. I am calling from Ukuta. The freedom of media is paramount. Why I said it, there are the people that come closer to the masses. The governor, the senator, the president can never come closer to the masses. Why the media, they were totally organized by the leaders of today, is all about of their falsehood. Now the media, I can even remember when the one was about to write what happened between Mama Basa and Gloria Court. And the one told him that Nigeria is not right to bring out this information. And he wrote it and they sent letter bomb through Halil Akilu. Then honest. Now, the independence of media is good. Look at INEC. They are working on that front. If you are a media man, if you do not listen to the government, the senator, the president, you are going to be sacked out. Look at the work our information minister man was talking today. When he saw this, you will tell it about the issue.
All right, thank you, too. We have Ebuka Akarisi on our Facebook page, and he's saying that my take this morning is that the press should not be ignored or abused because they are doing a perfect job, and urge the government to pay them as a when due so as to encourage them as they discharge their statutory duties. Hello? Oh, very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Yes, my contribution this morning. Can you hear me?
Of course, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, I am Don Bukati calling from the Biafra land. So my take this morning is that the media or the press has been doing enough. They have been doing a well-recognized job in this country. Without the media, I don't think the government can even showcase their development project if they have any.
Yes.
And again, I think that the government has not fulfilled their own part. Just for instance now, the NBC, which is a regulatory body towards the media outfit or whatever, has recently suspended this officer in Igbo State just because they were able to verify what happened on the 14 boys that was killed to substantiate how the thing happened. I don't know what they think they committed or must. I don't know how their regulatory body is being administered. Is it when you get evidence, you must bring it to them before you can bring it out to the public? Or you should hide the evidence or should hide whatever you bring out? So these are the things I think that the media are facing, which the role they are playing is more vital than all these distractions. The government should encourage them to do more. Without the media, you can't know what is happening in my town. Without me listening in radio to hear what is happening in other communities, in other villages, in other local governments, I don't think we can move forward. This is 21st century. Trying to impose government policy on them through NBC is not a welcome development. This is my own take. I want to go in another angle.
Okay.
Things I see that is affecting the media.
All right, thank you so much. 2 minutes is given to every caller. Also, Francis and Amani watching live from Amagunze in Enugu State states that the importance of press freedom can never be overemphasized as the fourth estate of the realm. Press should be allowed to report without bias and undue interference, especially in a democratic setting. Thank you, also, Francis. Hello?
Good morning, my humble speaker, Danko Salami. Okay. And I must say good morning to our agent.
Yes.
Wherever you are.
Yes, he can hear.
It's supposed to come from calling from Olo.
Go ahead.
The freedom of the press, I must tell you, the actual truth is fraught with danger worldwide. You know, I like to keep abreast with the happenings of the global world. The issue of journalism is a risky job. If you ask me, well, it's quite unfortunate that I wanted to marry a girl. The reason that I could not marry her because she was a journalist, because I don't want anything to break my heart tomorrow. You can see the work worldwide. It's not an easy job. It's only a man who has a real big heart who can endure will allow a journalist to be his wife. So I say, why the Nigerian one is quite a different one is because the people I say that created Nigeria want the whole world not to know, to recognize what is happening in Nigeria. Let me tell you, Danko Salami, many journalists in this country are really trying, like let the go. Let me tell you, not all of them are brand enveloped by journalism. Not all of them. There are some of them, I must tell you, that are really doing the work effectively to their own conscience, to satisfy their conscience, not to satisfy anyone. And the government of the day is after them. So anyone that, do you remember the issue of the Legiwa and the Glory of God? When you see all these things, you know that working as a journalist in this country today in Nigeria, why I say Nigeria's own problem is peculiar because Nigerian government is ready to do anything to make sure the truth that is happening in this country is not known. Look at Lai Mohammed. You go to Facebook, you go to the Google, you go to Instagram,
outside want to know that Nigeria is not working. That is the issue we are having today in this country. Don't you have a nice day, my dear speaker?
All right, thank you too, Pastor Kafa. We have A.K. Michael saying that the press must not be gagged nor boxed into darkness at the present. The present regime, not administration, is currently doing. My candid advice is that the press or media houses should be courageous and raise their bars and horns in discharging their mandate without fear or favor. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Dr. Sanami.
A very good morning to you, comrade.
Extend my regard to my good friend and his brother, Chris McCall.
Yeah, he can hear.
Yes, I remain the voice of Benue. Comrade Awoke John, reaching you live here in Nado local government area of Benue State. Yes, when a government portray the administration in a bad light, and when a government portray it delivering of quality dividend of democracy on a failure note, this is one of the irony part of it. The indices of a failed system is when people's voices are being intimidated through the act of imposition of unguided laws. This is one of the problems we encounter with Nigerian government. If Nigerian government is performing well, what is the essence of criticism? And the essence of criticism in democracy is when you criticize, you make an avenue for government to show quality, to make a correction and deliver quality dividends of democracy to its citizens. That is one of the good benefits of democracy. But in Nigeria today, do we still allow such to exist? The answer is no. A situation whereby the media is being intimidated through several laws, being implemented and is not even implemented in position of unguided and unacceptable laws on the media. This is one of the dreaded terrorist acts that is threatening democracy in Nigeria. In African community, there are several criticisms. Taking a look at what happened in the Relo Denga in the recent election that took place 3 days ago, you will understand that media performed several work that enabled the citizens to discover that this election is being rigged. And that is where you see the essence of the electoral body trying to manipulate the election. But the media, they help the citizens who voted for the newly elected president. And that is what triumphs the president to take over from the government. But in Nigerian system of democracy, do we allow that? The answer is no. So what I'm trying to summarize this morning is this. This is high time all of us should endure. 2023 is around the corner. We are going to encounter several terrorist acts. We have political terrorism. We have other terrorism. Look at people taking over the governance of Nigeria. I want to say that they should have a rethink and know that at the end of this tenure, there should be another government that is coming.
Definitely.
And I believe some of these anomalies will be corrected.
Yes.
And media will be guaranteed. Your safety, as my Pastor Kapo has just rightly said, will be guaranteed. The safety of all the press men and women in Nigeria will be granted. And the media will be safe to criticize.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
And you too. I'll take one more call and that'll be it. So Comrade Chris will take it over as we look into Nigerian democracy and the role of the press in it. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Good morning.
A very good morning to you.
Hello?
I can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead. I can hear you.
Hello?
Well, I don't know what's happening anymore, but I think that's how far we can go on the phone conversation. So let's just get in some text messages right now and get over to my guest. I'm sorry, I can take any other call. This one here says, Imai is saying that there can't be press freedom when it is always manipulated. The problem is that the government scan through press news. They remove the part that doesn't favor them. Like your government is practicing democracy by mouth, not by action. We have yet another one here. Our mindset and general demeanor makes it almost impossible to have press freedom in Nigeria as a result of massive corruption and inept leadership. There is always the need to gag the press. Our journalists, being not journs with our usual syndrome, always render unalloyed services to the highest bidders. Their services or advantages, or rather, their services highly depends on monetary gains or advantages to the detriment of social services that will be beneficial to the Puta Brunt. Wonsu MC, Ndiawa. We have this one. Okay, this is a part of it. All right, that's how far we can go. Now, over to you, Comrade Chris. Let's get your views.
Well, it's clear that there is a concurrent of opinion amongst the colors that press freedom is so critical that it should not be repelled in our country. And I would have been surprised if the preponderance of opinion didn't tilt towards that direction, because like I said, whether we like it or not, repression of press freedom can only be the first leg of the journey to anarchy. So when you allow the press to do its job, a particular caller, John Awoke, Comrade John Awoke, my friend, actually affirmed that the only reason why a government can be afraid of press freedom is when it is not doing well. If a government is doing well, it will not be afraid of press freedom, because it will see the press as a partner in progress, because the press is there to eulogize the government when it does well, and to also observe, snaps when there are some, and also, more importantly, report the opinion, the overriding opinion of society. That way, government will have. There's a caller who said, I think it was the second caller, because I didn't actually hear the first caller. Okay. I think it was the second caller who made the point about the fact that those who represent us in government cannot be everywhere at the time. If you're my House of Assembly rep, for example, and you're at work in Oka, you're not in the village. You don't know what is happening in the local government. So you depend on reports from your constituents, and probably these days from the social media, from the local radios, who are very close to the people, to know what is happening. And vice versa, ditto to the Senate level and the president. For example, sometimes I pity the president of any country, because in the judiciary, they say whatever evidence you give as a second party is described as hearsay. In other words, it might not be regarded as hugely reliable, but you get first-hand information from the reportage that emanate from the press. And so if a government is doing well, for me, a press will become to that government a partner in progress. But when a government is failing in its responsibilities to the governed, that is when you see that government, make efforts to actually hush the press, to repress, reportages and all that. And you begin to hear, and see this draconian and arbitrary, impositions of fines and all that. But in all this, my happiness is that the Nigerian media, even though we have not come truly of age, is, it is not deterred. I think that's the word. We are not deterred. We are marching forward, and a lot of media houses in the country are taking the bull by the horn, reporting its convictions rather than what government would want them to do. And this is the positive cover about the entire scenario. That even when we are only enjoying partial press freedom in the country, most media houses have taken it upon themselves to do the right thing, which is to be courageous enough to report, what they see out there. And the good thing about it is that the society at large appears to be on the path of these journalists and media houses. So you can be sure that when there is what could be deemed rightly as an infraction on the media houses by government, that society will stand up and speak for them. And I can tell you the government will tire out. In any case, we have just about 6-7 months, about 10 months to go, if it's up to this government. So if we have endured them, if we have endured this government for the past 7 years, and counting now, we will be able to endure whatever the corner interjections that they may put forward or forth in the remaining years, in the remaining days or months, you know. So for me, the core issue is that press freedom is a sine qua non for a better society.
True.
And it must be allowed to thrive. Yeah. It must be allowed to be. Yeah. Government should try to suppress, not to suppress it, and to reorientate itself to see the press or the media as a partner in progress, like I said. Granted that there are a few, you know, like the Holy Book says, out of every 12 there must be a Judas.
That's true.
So there are media houses that are, you know, are not actually doing the right thing, but you don't find them much. You don't find such much within the regular family. What do I mean by regular family? The recognized media, the registered media. There are government must separate unregistered media from registered ones. And if I were the minister, for example, and the BBC does a reportage, or Channel does a reportage, or your Omega does a reportage, these are duly registered media stations.
Yeah, true.
You need to be circumspect when you want to think about their actions, because those people have a name to protect. Those media, they have a name to protect, so they don't want to get into trouble. So for them to have let the news, you know, out means that they have actually mulled it over, and they are convinced that this news ought to be out.
Of course.
So that should be a foreground for any government official to take a decision. I mean, what is the reputation of that media out there? There are media that when government makes to move again, it portrays the government as unserious. Because these are credible media. You understand? They are credible across the country, across the globe. And then you want to rise against such media, we want out for crying out loud. How can you do it? Can you survive without them? If they decide to even go against you, can you withstand it? You know, let me paint the picture. It's like, you know, a petite man goes out there, and then one giant, you know, decides to give up with him, even unjustifiably. It will be suicidal for that dwarf to want to fight back.
Exactly.
That's the way it is. So there are, you know, certain things demand a commonsensical approach.
All right.
You don't start a battle that you cannot win.
Yes. Okay.
So for me, that's it.
All right. Thank you so much, comrade, for doing this. Just as you stated, we have a couple of months. All right. So let's just bear. We have gone thus far. We have a couple of months to get done. And yes, so we hope the incoming government or the incoming leader or leaders would actually throw more light into this and really grant the press the freedom we project, the freedom we aspire, the freedom we talk about. Thank you very much.
That will be dependent. Sorry to cut in. That will be dependent on Nigerians, and that is why they must choose the right leaders.
Exactly.
Then that will come to be.
Exactly. Thank you so much, and do have a good day.
You will too. Will have a wonderful day.
All right. Okay, that's how far we can go. The Late Mega Morning Show makes a return at 10:30, and of course, several other programs are still Omega 101.7 FM and my radio, your radio. Good morning. Good morning.